Okay guys, today we're doing percentages and we're correcting page 110 and going on to page 111. So just for you, those of you who just lost track of things, you know I correct all the maths at the beginning of each lesson and then I go on to the page for the day. So that's the way I've operated and that's the way I always have since the very beginning of this lockdown. So I'm sorry about my teeth. I've tried to take this about 3 times and this is my 4th attempt because whatever way the braces are just annoying me at this stage, guys. So sorry about this, but I've actually I've had them out for too long already this morning when I was doing the new wave, etc., and I have to put them back in. So I'm sorry about that. If I sound weirder than usual. So when you're converting a decimal to a percent, you multiply by 100, and then percent back to a decimal to divide by 100. So you have to remember that. That is so important. So I'm going to go on and correct first. So the first one was, and I did this for you yesterday anyway, to change the percent you multiply by 100. So there you go. We jump 1, we jump 2 places because we're multiplying by 100, and that's 4%. Now we know after the 4 there's an invisible decimal point, but because there's nothing after the decimal point, we don't need to have it there. But there's always a decimal point after any number, except we only need to see it if there's numbers after the decimal point. In this case, it's 4%. It's not 4.1 or 4.01 or whatever. Okay, number 2. So again, we multiply by 100, 0.5. Multiply by 100 is 50%. QED. 0.2 by 100, again, we jump 2 places to the right and it's 20%. 0.1, we multiply 2 places to the right and it's 10%. Again, guys, you remember it's not actually happening that the decimal point is moved. It's just the numbers are increasing times 100. So they're moving to the left, but it looks like the decimal point is moving 2 places to the right. And we do that because it's more effective. It's for getting your answer quicker. Okay. So then we have 5, 0.34, multiplied by 100, 1, 2, and we have 34%. 0.95, jump 1, 2, and we have 100%. So they are very easy. Now in B, we have to circle the equivalent percentage for each decimal. So 0.7, you're changing your decimal to a percentage, so you multiply by 100. So the first one, 0.7, becomes 70%. The second one, 0.3, becomes 30%. I did them down the way, guys. The next one, 0.97, is 97%. 0.875, so you jump 2, and it's 87.5%. Because you jump 2, so the decimal point lies between 7 and 5. Then over across, we have 0.06, so your answer is 6%, because you're multiplying by 100, which means you're moving your decimal point 2 places to the right. Now, that's not what's really happening. It's just the trick we use. Then 0.67 is 67%. And 1.70, if you move it 2 places to the right, you have 170%. And it has to be 170% because 1 is equal to 100 out of 100 in the 100 squares, which is 100%. If you get one whole thing right, you get 100%. So 1 is equal to 100%, 2 is equal to 200%, 3 is equal to 300%, and so forth. Now 0.125, 2 places to the right, the decimal point will now be between the numbers 2 and 5, so it's 12.5%. So they're QED. Okay. Now, C. What decimal and percentage of each shape is shaded and unshaded? So all you have to do is, if you want to get the shaded first, then it's going to be easy to get the unshaded. If you want to get the unshaded first, it's going to be easy to get the shaded. You can do it with whichever way you feel is easier for you. So the first one has 10 equal parts. I count them up, the strip's 10. And there's 4 shaded, so that's 4 out of 10. And 4 out of 10 as a decimal is 0.4. And change that percentage to a percentage, you multiply by 100, so you jump 2 places to the right and it's 40%. So 40% is shaded, and take 40% away from 100%, because 100% is the total. If you have 40%, you've got 40 out of 100, which means the piece left over is 60 out of 100, which is 60%. So 60 and 40 add up to 100%. So that's how you know the unshaded is 60%. You take 40 away from 100, a total 100%. Okay, guys? Next, we have out here, we have 3 out of 10 that are shaded. So again, 3 out of 10 is the same as 0.3. And when you convert 0.3 to a percentage, you multiply by 100, you jump 2 places to the right, and you end up with 30%. Now, if 30% is shaded, therefore 30 from 100%, that's the total, you're left with 70%, QED. Next one, number 3. here, where are we? There, we have 3. And here we have, where am I? 14 out of 20 were shaded. And I broke that down into its simplest form. 2 into 14 goes 7, and 2 into 20 goes 10. So I divided, I divided the top by 2, and what I do to the top, I do to the bottom, and it has to go in evenly. So 2 into 14 goes 7, and 2 into 20 goes 10, goes in evenly. So 14/20 is the exact same as 7/10, but it's 7/10 is 14/20 expressed in its simplest form. So 7 out of 10 is 0.7, and multiplying that by 100 to make your percentage is 70%. Then in number 4, we have, where are we? 3 out of 10. So 3 out of 10 is 0.3 multiplied by 100 to make it into percentage, and we've got 30%. And 30% is shaded, so our 30% is shaded, so 70% is unshaded. Oh, I forgot, 70% in the previous one was shaded, so you take it away from 100, and that's 30%. Okay, guys, can you see that there? Okay. Now, 6 out of 16. Okay, so I broke it down into its simplest form. So 2 into 16 goes, 2 into 6 goes 3 times, 2 into 6 goes 3 times, 2 into 16 goes 8 times. Okay, now I told you before, if you want to convert a number like this, 3 out of 8, into a decimal, 3/8 is the same as 3/8 is the same as 3 divided. That line means divided by 8. So I want to make 3/8 into a decimal. So because I don't know directly, like 3/10 we know is 0.3. We know that 7/10 is 0.7. We know that 4/10 is 0.4. So here we have 3/8. It's a little trickier. So 8 into 3 won't go. Put down your decimal, you align your decimals in division, N, B, 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 B. So you carry over your 3. 3 into 30 goes 3 times. That's 24, and we've 6 left over. 8 into 60 goes 7 times, 56, and we have 4 left over, and 8 into 40 goes 5 times. So 6/16 in its simplest form is 3/8, and to convert 3/8, 3/8, 3 divided by 8, there are all the different ways of saying it, you should know that. You divide 8, the denominator, into the numerator to get the decimal. So 8, again, 8 into 3 won't go. We put down our decimals, N, B, 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 B. Carry over 3. 8 into 30 goes 3 times. That's 24. We have 6 left over. 8 into 60 goes 7 times. 56. There's 4 left over. 8 into 40 goes in evenly. What do you need to know? Your tables, can't stress it enough. Now, the answer is 0.375. So 3/8 is 0.375. And you'll guys, it'll come to a stage where you have to know these off by heart. You'll have to remember 1/8, 3/8, 5/8, 7/8. They're very important when you're talking about decimals and percentages, and I had to learn them off myself. But the more you use them, which you will be using them an awful lot as you go into 6th class, 1st year, 2nd year, they'll just become, you'll just remember them automatically. Okay, but you have to remember that it's easier to know them off by heart, so you don't have to be doing the division all the time. But this is how people come up with 0.375. They don't pull it out of the sky. They divide the numerator by the denominator, or they divide the denominator into the numerator. Same way. It's the same thing. 3 divided by 8, or another way of saying it, 8 into 3, and that's it. And it's short division because you're dividing by 1 digit. 37. So it's 0.375. Convert it. That's not the answer. That's the decimal they asked for, and not the percentage. Multiply by 100, and you have 37.5. So that's shaded, but we have to get the unshaded. So what do? 37.5 take away from 100%. So 100.0. Okay, 100.0 take away 37.5. Why have I put 100.0? Because we have the 0.5 there. So I have to put 100.0 for subtraction purposes. Take away 37.5 and you end up with 62.5. And if you want to check out whether I'm right or wrong, add the 62.5 onto the 37.5, and I guarantee you'll end up with 100%. Okay? Now the next one is 2/5. And 2/5, now you can do it this way. You can change fifths to hundredths. So you can multiply 5 by 20 to make 100. How much you do to the bottom, you do to the top, and 2 multiplied by 20, and you get 40 over 100. Do you understand that? So you can make the fifths into hundredths by multiplying by 20. 5 20s is 100. And then you multiply the top, if what you do to the bottom, you do to the top, and you multiply 2 by 20, and you get 40 over 100. Okay? Or what I've told you to do is you want to convert 2/5. I know 2/5 is 0.4 because I know 2/5 is the same as 4/10. If you know that connection, if you remember that, and you should in 5th class remember that 2/5 is 0.4, 3/5 is 0.6, and 4/5 is 0.8. I know those off by heart, but for those of you who keep forgetting, you divide the denominator into the numerator. So 5 into 2 won't go, down your decimal points, and 5 into 20 goes 4 times. Therefore, 2/5 is the exact same as 0.4. Okay? And 0.4 multiplied by 100 is 40%. If 40% is shaded, take it away from 100, 60% is unshaded. Just look at that carefully. Okay? They asked you to express 2/5 as a decimal. A lot of you will know from doing all your fractions last year and this year that 1/5 is 0.2. 2/5 is 0.4. 3/5 is 0.6. 4/5 is 0.8. If you didn't know that and if you're just a little bit forgetful at the time, to express a fraction as a decimal, you always divide if you don't know it, you divide the numerator by the denominator, or another way of saying it, divide the denominator 5 into the numerator 2, divide the denominator 8 into the numerator 3, and you come up with your decimals. It's straightforward. Okay, have a good look at that. 5 into 2 won't go, down your decimals, align them. Carry over your 2, 5 into 20 goes 4 times. Therefore, 2/5 is 0.4, but we knew that already, some of us, I hope most of us did. And that's 0.4 multiplied by 100. If you multiply by 100, you move your decimal point 2 places to the right, and that is 40%. And to get that is shaded, and then the unshaded is you take the 40% away from the 100%, and you get 60, because you have to make 100% every time. Now, number 7 is 4 out of 10. And that's the same as 2/5, by the way, is 0.4, and that's 0.4 by 100 is 40% QED. So we know that 2/5 and 4/10 give the same answer because 2/5 is the exact same as 4/10. If I want to express 4/10 in its simplest form, I divide 4 by 2, and what I do to the top, I do to the bottom, 10 by 2, and I end up with 2/5 QED. Okay. Now, 8. 8 is 6 over 8. There are 8 equal parts, and 2 of those are, where am I? 6 eighths are shaded, okay? 6 eighths are shaded. So 2 eighths are unshaded, and 2 eighths is a quarter. This is how I worked it out, okay? So 2 out of 8 is unshaded. So if I break that into simplest form, it's 1 over 4. So 25%, if a quarter is equal to 25%, I introduced that, I think, on Monday. And 3/4 is 75%, because you take 1/4 away from which is 25%, away from a total of 100%, and you end up with 75%. And 75% and 25% added together is 100%. 25% of it is unshaded, and shaded is 75%. Very easy to do. Okay? Look at that. Okay, guys. So I'm moving on. Oh no, that's page 1. Page 2. I'm going on to D, isn't it? Yeah, D. Sorry, guys. So where am I? C and D. So change fractions to percentage to fractions. Sinead got 3/4 of spelling tests correct. What percentage is that? We know it's 75%. Now, this is what I was telling you in one of the songs back there. They're doing it this way to change the percentages, changing fractions to percentages. They multiplied by to bring it to 100%. To bring it to 100. Why is it 100? Why are they changing it to hundreds? Because it's 100%. 100%. That's why they're changing. They're multiplying the denominator by 25 to make 100. And what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So they must multiply the numerator 3 by 25. Okay, guys? Just look at that again. Right? So 3/4, well, I know 3/4 is 75%, and 1/4 is 25%, and a half is 50%. Okay, if you get a half your test right, you get 50% right, 50% wrong. If you get a quarter, you get 25% right, 75% wrong. If you get 3/4 of your test right, you get 75% right and 25% wrong. But they are changing fractions to percentages. There they go. So they're percent hundreds. So you're talking about hundreds. So we multiply, what do you multiply by 4 to make 100? 25. And if you multiply the denominator 4 by 25 to make 100, you must multiply the numerator by 25. And then 3/4 is 75 out of 100, which is 75%. Now, going back the way, she got 75% for spellings right. What fraction is that? So we need to put the percentage over 100, because it's 75%, 75 out of 100. So we're working back the way. So if we want to put that in its simplest form, What goes into 75 and 100 evenly? 25 does. 25 goes into 75 3 times, 25 goes into 100 4 times. So it's 3/4 in its simplest form. We always want it in simplest form. So 75% is the exact same as 3/4, okay? So change the following to percentages. So here we go. 3/5 is a fifth of 100. Okay, now what I did here was you can either do it the way they did it, okay, which is multiply 5 by 100, 5 by 20 to make 100, or 3 by 20, so that's 60 out of 100, which is 60%. What I did, guys, was I got a fifth of 100, which we always did. 3/5, if this percent, you get 1/5 of 100, which is 20 multiplied by 3, which is 60%. The way we did it last year in Miss O'Connor's and Miss Malloy's class, where to get 3/5 of anything, you get 1/5 first, and then you multiply by 3. Now, if you feel this way is the easier way for you, so you multiply, where am I? You multiply hold on. 3/5. So you're changing the fifths to 100. You want to change your 3/5 to 100. So what do you multiply by 5 to make 100? Multiply by 20. And then what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So it becomes 50 by 20 is 100, and 3 by 20 is 60. 60 over 100, which is 60% QED. Or you can get this way, 3/5 to get 1/5 of 100, you get 20 and multiply by 3 then to get 60%. The same for 7/20. You can either multiply 20 by 5 to get 100, and then 7 by 5, 35 out of 100, 35%. Or I got, if it's percent, I got 1/20th of 100, because to get 7/20ths, I need to get 1/20th first. And we're talking about percent, we're talking about hundredths. So we divide 100 by 20. So a 20th of 100, which is 100 divided by 20, is 5. And then I want 7/20ths, so my answer multiplied by 7 is 35. As I said, if you find this way easier, because we were doing these all last year, and even I think at some stage this year as well, we were to get 1/5. To get 3/5, you have to get 1/5, then multiply by 3. To get 1/20, to get 7/20, you divide by 20. To get 1/20, you always have to get the one part first and then multiply by 7. Or alternatively, you can do it like this, where you've got the 7/20ths, and you turn the 20 into 100, because you're talking about hundredths, percentages. So 20 by 5 is 100. And because you multiplied 20 by 5 in the bottom, you must multiply 7 by 5 in the top. And that's 35 out of 100, which is 35%. Okay, guys? Now, 25 out of 50, that's easy. Okay? It's 25 out of 50. 25 and 25 goes once. 25, now, I went all around the country for that. But 25 out of 50 is half. And that is 50%. Okay? Or you get a 50 and multiply, where am I? Or get a 50 then multiply by 2. But 25 over 50 is half, because 25 and 25 goes once, 25 and 50 goes twice. That's half of 100, which is 50%. Now, 3/4, I just knocked it off, and I got 3/4 of 100, which is 75%. We know 3/4 is 75%. We know a half is 50%. We know 25 out of 100 is a quarter. A quarter is 25%. A half is 50%. 3/4 is 75%. You should know those off by heart, guys. Again, 3/4, if you wanted to do it the way they have it in the book, you multiply 4 by 25 to make 100, and then what you do to the bottom, you do to the top, 3 by 25, which is 75 out of 100, which is 75%. 85 out of 100, these are ones you have to learn off, really. So 85 out of 100 is 85%, okay? Because it's 85 hundredths, as 85 out of 100 is 0.85, and multiply that by 100 is 85%. Okay, guys? And then 13 out of 100, again, you multiply 20 by 5, which is 100, and do what you do to the bottom, you do to the top, and 13 by 5 is 65 out of 100. Or you can get a 20th first, which is 5, and then multiply by 13, that should have been 13. 5 by 13 is 65%. Okay, guys, I had 13 in my head, but I put down 15. That's incorrect. It's 5 by 13. Again, if you think the other way is easy, what I do 13/20ths, I get 1/20th, and then I multiply by 13 to get 13/20ths of 100, and that gives you the percentage. Or again, what they did in the book, you're converting to hundredths, so you multiply you multiply 20, what will make 100? 20 by 5 makes 100, and what you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. So I multiply 20 by 5 on the bottom, so I multiply 13 by 5 on the top, and I end up with 65 over 100, which is 65%, or my way, or the way that we learned all along. It's not my way, it's the way we learned all along. Actually, that would have been the way I learned in school. In my own school days, we wouldn't have been multiplying the bottom and the top, but that's obviously this way they must think is an easier way. It's whatever is easy. It's whatever is easy for you. We have been learning all along in order to get 13/20ths, we divide by 20 to get one part and then multiply by 13 to get all the 13/20ths. But now they're saying, because we're doing percentages, you see what you look at your denominator and you see how many times does 20 go into 100, multiply by 5. So what you do to the bottom, the denominator, you do to the numerator, 13 by 5 is 65. 65 out of 100 is 65%. Okay, guys? Then 110 over 100 is 100. 100 over 100 plus 10. What's that line there for? 100 over 100. Actually, guys, I don't know what that line is there for. It's 100. Oh, that's percent. Sorry, guys, there should be 2 dots there. It reads 100%. It should be a line with the dot here and the dot there. And I haven't got a pen in my hand. So that's 100% plus 10%. The dots didn't come out. Okay, 100% plus 10%, which is 110%. Do you understand that? Because it's 100 over 100 plus 10 over 100. So it's 110%. 110%. 110 over 100 is 110%. Okay, guys, because it's 1 plus 10, and 1 is 100%, and 10 over 100 is 10%, so that's 110%. QED. And then the last one, 200 over 100 is 200%. It's 100% and 100%. Okay, guys? 200 over 100 is the 100. Oh yeah, the 200 over 100 is the 100 and 100, and that's the 200%. So it's 200 over 100, which is 2, and 2 is 100 plus 100, which is 200%. So 200 over 100, if you knock off the 2 zeros on top, and you must knock off the 2 zeros on the bottom, right? And you're left with 2 over 1, and 2 over 1 is 2. And 2 is 2 whole numbers, so that's 1. It's 1 plus 1, so 100 and 100 is 200%. 3 would be 300%. 300 over 100 would be 300%. 400 over 100 would be 400%. It would be 4, but 400% because it's a whole. Okay, guys. So that's today. And then so what fraction, decimal, and percentage of each shape is shaded and shaded? So you continue on in the same vein with the work on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now remember, if it's a tricky one like 16ths, you try and bring it down to 8ths, and then you divide the numerator into the denominator in order to get the decimal, and it will work out evenly. It will work out evenly. Okay, guys? It will work out. So don't be saying Miss Walker it was a recurring decimal. Recurring means it wouldn't divide unevenly. It does divide unevenly. It does terminate. Okay. So you do 1, 2, 3. Remember, if you find it easier to work out the shaded part first, grand. But if you find that the unshaded part is easier one to work out, do it that way. And always take your number away from 100, because if you have 40% obviously shaded, the unshaded will be 6%. If you have 30% shaded, the unshaded will be 65%, etc. Okay, guys? Put these in of each of these sets of fractions, decimals, and percentages in order, starting with the greatest. So starting with the greatest. So if you want to convert all of them to hundredths, if you want to express all of them as percentages, you have to decide, okay? There's percentages, decimals, and hundredths there, but they all, so for example, 17% is 17 out of 100, and 0.7 is 70 over 100. So then you can work out that it's 71, then 71 over 100, then 0.7, and then 17%. That's how I worked that out. Do that, and then look at B. 1/5, 21%, and 0.23. So I have to find out. So there's 0.23, which is 23%. We know that. And what is 1/5? 1/5 of 100, because you're getting percentages, is 20%. So 1/5 is 20%. 21% and 23%. So the way it goes is 0.23 is number one. You don't put down, you write it out as it is, even though you're working it out to percentages, like 1/5 is 20%, 21% is 21%, obviously, and 0.23 is 23%. So I've worked them out as percentages, each one to percent, convert to percentage. You could convert each one to a fraction, or you could convert each one to a decimal. Whichever way, just make them all the same. And then when you're writing the answer, obviously you have to go back to its original form. And I know that 1/5 is 20%. 21%, and 0.23 is 23%. But when I'm writing my answer, I know that 23% is the biggest, so I write 0.23. And then it's followed by 21%, because it's bigger, 21 over 100, because it's bigger than 1/5, which is 2 over 10, or 20 over 100. Okay, guys? And that is the answer. So 0.23 is the greatest, then followed by 21%, and then followed by a fifth, which was 20%, which is a fifth. Okay, you write down the answers as they appear, but you work them out by bringing them all to a common expression. So you're either going to express them as percentages or decimals or fractions and work them out, and then go back and put them in order that they're written in the book. I'll do the next one again for you. C. Okay, so I've done A, B, and I'm doing C and D, and then you'll continue on with the rest. Okay, guys, even though I go back over these again tomorrow. So 11%, 110, and 0.011. So you're going to the greatest, smallest. So I'm going to change them to say percentages. So I have 11%. I'm just choosing percentages. So we have 11%. 1/10 is 10%, and 0.011. So to change that percentage, I move the decimal point 2 places to the right, because when you're changing to decimals to percentages, you multiply by 100 and you move your decimal place 2 places to the right. So that's 1.1%. So 11% is the biggest. 1/10 is next because we found out it was 10%, and 0.011 is the smallest value because we found when we converted that it read as 1.1%. Okay, but you see the way I answered them as 11%, then 1/10, then 0.11. But when I was working them out in my rough work, I had written down 11%, 1/10 is 10%, and 0.11 is 1.1%. You work them out. Then 24%, a quarter, and 0.40. So this time I'm still going to change them to percentages. So 24%, 1/4 is 25%, as we know, and 50% is a half, and 3/4 is 75%. So we have 24%, 25%, and multiply by 100 for the decimal, 1, 2, 40%. So 40% is the largest, is the greatest. So we have 0.40 as our start off, which is the greatest of these three, and the values. And then we have 1/4, which is 25%. So we have 0.40 is the greatest, followed by 1/4, followed by 24%. Note, I do not put down my worked out and my answers that have been worked out down. I use my rough work to work out the value in percentage for a quarter and 0.40, but when I'm writing my answer, I must use the values that the way they're expressed here as 24%, a quarter, or 0.40. So the greatest was 0.40 because it was 40%. Then we followed by a quarter because that was 25%, and then we end up with 24% because that's the lowest in value. So I want you to continue on with 2, all of 2, all of 3, all of 4. Now put these in sets of fractions, decimals, percentages. Okay, that's easy. So I have noticed that there's 10 big strokes, so we're dealing in tenths. We're dealing in tenths, and every one of those strokes is 10%. Okay, guys, right? So 10% would be on your first here, this one, the big stroke there. So 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way to 90, and then 1 is 100%. 1 is 100%, 1 over 1. So 10% is here, the big stroke there. 40% is 10, 20, 30, 40 here. 0.22. So that's 10, 20, and there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So it's 10, 20, and the first stroke after the 20. Do you see the very first stroke? So it's 10, 20, and then the first stroke after the 20 is 0.22 because they're divided into twos, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so that's 0.22, and then 0.6 is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 6. The sixth largest stroke is 0.6, that's 6/10. A half would be the back here, would be halfway through. The fifth, 5/10, or 5/10 equal to a half, and then 70 would be, you count up the 7, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and it's 2. So the first stroke after is 2 because it's 2, 4, 6, 8, and then you have your 8/10, which is equal to 80 hundredths, and then you have your 9/10, which is equal to 90 hundredths. Okay, so you have your 1/10, which is 10 hundredths, 2/10, which is equal to 20 hundredths, 3/10 is 30 hundredths, 4/10 is 40 hundredths, 5/10 is 50 hundredths, which is a half, 6/10 is 60 hundredths, 7/10 70 hundredths, 8 over 10 is the exact same as 80 over 100, 9 over 10 is 90 over 100, and then 1 over 1 is 100%. And remember, each of the smaller notches is a value of 2, so we go 0, we go 2, 4, 6, 8, 1/10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 2/10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 3/10, and 3/10, as I said, is also 30 hundredths. 4/10 is also 40 hundredths, and so forth. Okay, guys, so I've helped you with one. Again, I've shown you where they are helped you with placing them on the number line. I will provide the answers to that one again. I want you to do that one as practice as in what I have guided you through, and then continue to do 2, 3, and 4. And then down here, it's quite easy. 1% is, and a decimal is 0.01, and a fraction is 1 over 100, because 1% is 1 per 100, 1 over 100. Okay, now we don't have the percentage, we don't have the decimal, but we have the fraction, and we know that 3 over 5, to change that to a decimal, okay, to change it to a decimal, or a percent, we multiply. I'm going to change it to a percentage first, guys. So we multiply the 5 by 20 to make 100, and then we multiply the 3 by 20, so it's 60 over 100, so that's 60%, okay? And then 60% is 0.6 or 0.60, so I'm just, the other zeros is unnecessary, so it's 0.6. Now, alternatively, as I told you, I can divide, to get the decimal, I divide the bottom 5 into the numerator. So 5 into 3 won't go, line your decimals. 5 into 30 goes 6 times, so it's 0.6. That's your decimal, and we know that 0.6, to change it to percentage, multiply by 100, jump 1, jump 2, and you end up with 60%. Okay, guys? 60%. Again, we have the decimal 0.1. 0.1 we know as a fraction is 1 over 10. There's one number after the decimal in here, so that means there's one number after the decimal. There's 1 0 and 10, so you're putting it over 10, 1/10. And 1/10 is 10%, because 0.1, if you multiply by 100 to change it to a decimal, you jump 1 to 10%. Okay, actually, guys, it'll come to the stage where you'll know automatically that 1/10 is 1/10 is 10%, 2/10 is 20%, 3/10 is 30%, and you'll know the value of 3/5 being 60%, 4/5 being 40%, 8/5 being 80%, 4/5 being 80%, and so forth. So just learn them. Okay, guys, now I know the value of this already, 0.125. Now 0.125 is 12.5%, okay? So 12.5%, because when you multiply by 100, that's 1, 2. So it's 1, 2 jumps to the right, and that's 12.5%. To change it to a fraction, put its 3 numbers after the decimal in the number there. So that means 3 zeros in 1,000, so you put 125 over 1,000, and you break it up into its simplest form. And I know that I know from learning it, as I said, when you go into 6th class and on beyond, you know that 0.125 expressed as a fraction is an eighth. Now, if you don't believe me, put 125 over 1,000, because there's three numbers after the decimal point, 1, 2, and 5. There are 3 numbers. So then you have to put it over 3 numbers in 1,000, 3 zeros in 1,000. So 125 over 1,000. 125 will go into itself once, and 125 will go into 1,000 8 times. So it's 1 over 8. Do it if you want to. You will end up with, if you can learn that 0.125 is an eighth, then you can calculate what 3/8 are, 5/8 are, because once you have 1/8, and if you forget the value of 3/8, you multiply 0.125 by 3. If you forget the value of 7/8, you multiply 0.125 by 7. But you will learn them, guys. You'll know them off by heart. Your older siblings will tell you that they're kind of fractions and percentages and decimals that you will come to see so many times that eventually you'll learn, or you'll know automatically what the value of 1/8 is, what the value of 3/8, 5/8, 7/8, and yeah. So it's an eighth. Okay. So I hope you do the rest. So just look at the 1, convert it to, if you find now 25%, that's easy converting it to a fraction straight away. And it's also easy converting it to a decimal. Okay, that's a very easy one. So I'm going to let you do the other ones yourselves. Okay, so 1, we know 1 is 100%, and a fraction 1 over 1. So that's very easy, that green one. 1 is the same as 100%, which is the same as 1 over 1. So guys, that's the lesson for today. And as I said, I'm hoping that this lesson might be the last one that I'm uploading to the 2 different platforms, and that I find once my daughter shows me how to do it using the Zoom, I think it's the Zoom way I'm going to try and master it, to upload your work to, so that you can view it through the link in Zoom. I think that's the way it works anyway, but I'll find out once I read the instructions and get my daughter to help me to learn how to follow the steps and the procedure. Jeez, I sound like I can't help it, guys. It's the dinosaur you're talking to here. Thank you for your cooperation. Remember, if you need to stop you shouldn't really. You should correct your work, follow teacher, and then go on and do your new work, guys, from your book. The instructions are there, but then you just use your books to do the page 111. Okay, it's not. It's just I'm being very, very explicit. I'm very, very clear in what I want you to do because I'm not in the classroom. So the lessons have to be that much longer. And unfortunately, I don't upload twice. I correct, and then I do the lesson just like I would in class. It's very important that you view the whole lesson from beginning to end, and that you make sure you understand all the things that I have explained. And obviously you can replay the video in order to listen to any area that you might need a little more clarification on. Thanks, guys, and talk to you tomorrow. Bye.